One of my big weaknesses when I'm talking to somebody is I have a big fear of when there's a gap of silence in the conversation, which is kind of awkward because one of my resolutions this year was actually to get over my fear of loud noises. Loud noises and silence, both of them seem to bother me for some reason. Not so much the loud noises anymore, but the silence. And I got into a sticky situation with a landlord and a couple roommates. I think the reason it didn't turn out was because when I was negotiating that place, I gave up too many of my personal quirks. I kept talking and talking and talking, what I do for a living, what I do for fun, my resolutions for this year, normalizing my relationship with food, getting over loud noises. And I think everybody knew too much about me. And sometimes in everyday life, what we say can really be used against us. And I gave up too much. And so when I was talking to this new landlord, we started by talking over the phone. Obviously, nobody wants to have contact with anybody unnecessarily, so we started over the phone, and I talked too much. The phone calls can be a little bit tricky because I often feel like there's some kind of a clock ticking away. If I take too long, maybe the call might end. I don't know what the other person is up to. If there's video involved, sometimes I relax a little bit because I know that person probably isn't in a hurry, right? Then finally, I went to see him at his home. Now, I remember thinking to myself, one of my favorite numbers this past year is 6, right? We got to give each other 6 feet. And sometimes I give myself 6 seconds, right? When I hear something and I think about, do I want to say this? In my mind, I count to 6 before I say it. Sometimes I do that with food cravings as well. I have a food craving, and mentally I count to 6. And in the 6 seconds, sometimes I'll think otherwise, right? That craving really wasn't as important as I think it is. I can find some other distraction. And so I was mentally counting to 6 when I was talking to this landlord. And what was really nice was that mid-sentence, he would say something, I was counting to 6, and then he would give a concession. It happens sometimes. I need to do that more. I quickly discovered how much I was throwing away in the past by answering too quickly. I was talking to a coworker. This was over Zoom now, and I was giving myself 6 seconds of distancing. And he made quite a number of concessions, and I go like, oh my god, how much did I throw away in the past? But it was very uncomfortable. I gotta concede that. The concessions didn't come for free, but they didn't come very expensively either. And another mental hack that I like to do, I made a video about this, is I'll pretend like I have a stack of silver coins. If you don't like silver, pretend they're a stack of $20 bills. And pretend every time you want to say something, right? Let's say you're at a job interview, or you're trying to negotiate buying a car, or what have you, right? Buying some coins, selling some coins, or even asking a girl out on a first date, or whatever it is. Now pretend everything you say is going to cost you one of those silver coins or one of those $20 bills, right? So you're interviewing, you're at a job interview, and your boss asks, your potential future boss asks you your qualifications. Well, certainly that's worth paying a silver coin to say, right? And okay, your qualifications, maybe some the school you went to. Okay, that's definitely worth paying a silver coin to say, right? But then you want to brag about how you scored 180 in bowling a few weeks ago. You want to brag about how about various personal matters, right? All of a sudden, it doesn't seem like it's worth giving up a silver coin to say, right? And you really are giving up something when you say those little quirks when they don't really matter, right? Because let's face it, everything you say really can be used against you at the right time, right? It probably won't be used against you right away, right? Nobody's gonna say you scored a 180 in bowling, you're fired, right? But you can imagine that there's going to be at some point somebody in the organization is going to be against it for whatever personal reason, right? My point is that anything that doesn't need to be said in order to make a relationship work out, you can probably leave it out and wait for a better time. That's my point, right? When you're negotiating, I made a mistake with one of my landlords. he had asked if I would ever bring a guest over to the house. That's what he cared about. I should have just said no, I won't, right? Because I really won't. But I used it as an opportunity to brag about how I'm happily single. And I think in retrospect that was a little bit unnecessary. Just no, right? If I hadn't played that mental game of having to give up a silver coin to say that, I would have stopped myself right there, or given myself 6 seconds, right? Anyways, I've gotten really used to the idea of it being okay to have a gap in a conversation, right? I got a little bit weak when I was talking on the phone because I don't know, there's this phobia that the call might end or something. But then I also practiced this. I was getting my car repaired in a shop, and I realized that even if that call ended, that car repair facility is not going to evaporate, right? I kind of reminded myself of that before I made the call, and I was doing okay with that. Anyways, silence is not going to kill anybody. Loud noises are not going to kill anybody. Get over it.